We are home from vacation, and so I wanted to bring you guys along as I get everything kind of reset and started for the following week. The first thing we do anytime we get home from being away is we always make sure to take care of the living things first. We had friends come and take care of our chickens while we were gone, but they needed to be moved on to fresh grass and just given a clean start. We gave them extra feed. We were excited to see them. All three are finally laying, and so they were excited to get some extra treats from us. I had to water my plants. I had done some seedlings before we left and also a few smaller new plants. These are the lilies that I dug up from just various places around in this rock flower bed. I don't know where I'm going to put them yet, but they were not happy where they were planted. So for right now, I'm just keeping them in pots and trying to keep them alive. But everything got a really good watering and just a good checking on. So I'm always happy to be back with my plants. I'm also getting my starter out of the refrigerator to get ready for bread making, and I'm gonna pull some meat out so that I can make soup tomorrow. Meals for us on the day after we get home from vacation are usually very simple, but they do have to be cooked because I always make sure to clean out my refrigerator, whether we give stuff to the chickens before we leave, or if we often take a lot of food with us on vacation. We usually try to do breakfast and lunch either at our hotel or wherever we're staying, and then we will often go out for dinner. So today I am going to do just sort of a vegetable pork sausage soup. I have some kale to use up. I've got some veggies that lasted fine in the fridge while we were gone, but they do need to get eaten. So I'm just kind of making like a kitchen sink soup, I call it, where I just sort of throw in whatever I have and make something healthy for us, but also something that will serve us for more than one meal because, we're busy coming back from vacation. So there's unpacking to be done. There's all kinds of stuff to be done. So I really don't need to be making anything super fancy or time intensive. I usually stick with soups or pastas, casseroles, something in the crock pot. I try to make my life easy because I'm usually doing 100 things at once. I took my sourdough starter out of the refrigerator last night. That is where I store it when I'm not actively going to use it. So since it had sat out on the counter overnight, I am going to feed it this morning so that it can go ahead, get bubbly and do its thing, and then I can make some bread later this evening. Well, I can make some bread dough later this evening and then finish the bread tomorrow. I had also gotten a chicken out of the freezer yesterday when I pulled my pork out, and I'm going to roast that in my Dutch oven. I normally would cook this in my Instapot, but I already have stuff going in that, and so I'm just going to put it in my Dutch oven and cook it. I'm not using this for a meal until later on. And so it has plenty of time to just cook low and slow and do what it needs to do. And the reason, of course, that I am not using my Instapot, you can see here, I actually had some tomatoes. We had taken them with us on vacation. We had never eaten them. They were starting to get soft. And I actually had quite a few tomatoes left in my freezer from ones that we'd picked over the summertime. So I was going to make a batch of tomato sauce. And that is why the chicken is not going in the Instapot, because the tomato sauce is going to go in there. I have basically three big pots. I have my Instapot, I have my big yellow soup pot that's on the stove, and then I have my Dutch oven. And when you have to use all three at the same time, then you sort of just have to use all three at the same time. So we make it work. One of the things that I always have to do when we get back from vacation is kind of get some things ready for the following week. I pack my husband's lunch and breakfast for him to take to work. So, making some hard boiled eggs is always a great staple for us. I sort of have to work with what I already have at the house for a few days because I most likely need to go grocery shopping, but I have to make sure that we are fed and taken care of those first few days. It also gives me a really good reason to kind of go through my pantry and use up a few things, or dig things out of the back that maybe I forgot about or that had gotten shoved to the back. And we just should use up and, kind of keep a rotating stock of all of our items. So I'm going to boil some eggs. That way I can have some hard-boiled eggs for us for snacks this week. Also, I can make egg salad for lunches, or snacks even. Either of those are good options. We are also out of coffee, so I'm going to grind up some coffee beans so that in the morning I do not have to wake the entire household up by doing this step before I make my cup of coffee. One of the great things about sourdough is that you'd have time to work with it because it needs to do some longer fermentation times than a regular loaf of bread would. However, when I'm trying to restock my kitchen quickly and kind of get us back on track, I will also use instant yeast to make a loaf of bread or two, that same day, so that we can have bread and sandwiches and toast and stuff like that while I am working on getting a sourdough loaf going. So I am going to grind some flour and use 100% fresh milled flour. I really think being able to use sourdough and instant yeast, is a great skill to have, because there are just times that I don't have to wait on the sourdough to do its thing. And that case, instant yeast really does help me out with getting things on the table quickly. And I don't usually get too fancy on these days, but we did have some apples left over from the store that we had gotten on vacation. They are starting to get soft. So while I'm in the kitchen and I'm just, making a mess out of everything, I decided to go ahead and do a pie crust to make an apple pie for dessert, or honestly, it might be for breakfast in the morning too. Now, Kevin does not love an apple pie, but the rest of us really do. So this is a great way for us to use up some of those apples that have gotten soft. I have made a bunch of applesauce already, and I just really don't want to fool with it, so apple pie it is.